on Twitch yet.
Have you set up Twitch? Oh, it's live.
Oh, yep. There we go. Oh, there's a delay. That's weird. I'm going to
Mute.
add you here. All right, so you should be a moderator in Twitch now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and your screen ends up there. That's good. All right, let's get started. How do we see if there's anybody in the actual streams? I can't see anything.
Are you on your stream dashboard?
In Twitch, I am, yes. But in YouTube, I'm not. I can't see it in YouTube.
Well, there should be... Did you put tags on Twitch?
Live? No.
Well, first you could put tags. And then on YouTube, I'm actually not sure. I see you live on YouTube.
Yep. You see me live on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Because I cannot. Okay. We'll get started then.
All right.
Let me share these with everything. Out of there. Okay. You gotta tell me if the audio is good.
All right, hold on.
This morning, a trove of images showing decades of unidentified objects is sparking curiosity among starry-eyed
Audio's good.
enthusiasts.
It's good.
The Pentagon releasing photos, videos, and reports of some 400 unresolved UFO sightings from the past 80 years, including this infrared video from 2013, taken somewhere in the Middle East by the U.S. military. It appears to show a star-shaped object flying erratically and leaving a trail behind. And in this audio from 1965, astronaut Frank Borman can be heard documenting an unidentified object while aboard Gemini 7.
We have several, looks like debris up here, actual sighting.
That's really their quote. It looks like debris up here is an actual sighting. Wow, that's really proof of UFOs.
NASA transcripts from 4 years later are also part of this release. Buzz Aldrin telling the government he saw a possible laser in space. And these images taken from the Apollo 17 mission in 1972 show strange lights observed in space from the moon. Every Apollo mission has reported similar lights.
There are these really cool snapshots of what it's like to be an astronaut exploring new things for the first time, and then to see things that they at first couldn't explain.
The Pentagon says this is the first of what will be several declassified document dumps about the unidentified object sightings at the direction of President Trump. The president now touts complete and maximum transparency, writing it's up to the public to decide for themselves what the hell is going on.
These files released by the Pentagon do not give any solid evidence for life beyond Earth, for alien life in general. But that doesn't mean we aren't continuing the investigation and the search for life.
Now, we're going to let the public figure out what the hell is going on. But you've been studying this for 80 years.
This release gives a new way for people to view these files. A large portion of the incidents themselves have been publicly available, and many were taken from military bases, which tend to have a higher level of surveillance. So with no certainty, Whit, the search and the speculation continues.
Okay, my curiosity is piqued. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
This
Sure. Okay, let's go to the next one.
The Department of War has released the first batch of what they're calling the UFO files, showing shocking, never-before-seen footage of unexplainable space phenomena. Among those files, declassified transcripts from the Apollo missions, where astronauts describe witnessing mysterious orbs of light while walking on the moon. Also, Buzz Aldrin reporting little flashes inside the Apollo 11 cabin, and then all the way to dramatic accounts from Apollo 17 of bright particles tumbling through the lunar sky. This new Trump administration initiative is dubbed PURSUE. That stands for Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. More than 160 files and hundreds of incidents are now online, dating all the way back to the 1940s. The Pentagon says the American people can now access these videos and photos instantly with no clearance required. The move fulfills a promise from President Trump to provide maximum transparency. That's a stark contrast, the administration says, to past efforts to discredit these sightings. But before we all start scanning the files, searching for little green men, let's get the full story from News Nation's Mills Hayes, who breaks down the latest on this treasure trove of documents.
Men, they've been doing this for decades, bringing in phrases like that, looking for little green men, trying to make it seem like it's freaking ridiculous. And then they show you absolutely nothing. They show you like a couple of lights in the sky or what looks like a floating jellyfish, which actually I have some information on that one a little bit later. That one's actually kind of interesting when we get into a company that is actually creating technology to videotape different types of UFOs for the military. They're contracted by the military. It's very interesting. Way more interesting than this BS news report.
Mills?
Right, Alex. I didn't see any little green men when I was going through the files. And the question remains, do aliens exist? That question not answered in these files, at least. And this new drop of declassified material shows unexplainable videos and images of UAPs from around the world that are already bringing in even more questions. This video, by far the most bizarre, from a military platform in the Middle East back in 2013, showing an 8-point star floating around and leaving a trail of light.
So this one is weird because the 8-point star, it actually looks kind of like a diffraction pattern if it was like a really bright light in certain types of cameras. And I saw somebody break it down where it looks like he broke down what type of lenses the drone was using and everything, showing how it would make that diffraction pattern, kind of like a solar flare in your camera. So that could just be a really bright light. But the weird thing about this is it's making a white watch behind it. It's making a white trail behind it.
Other more recent videos show missile-like objects shooting through the sky in the Middle East.
But the white trail means that it's a hot trail, which would mean that it's using some sort of
over in Japan and the Indo-Pacific.
It could very well just be a
Those
drone
videos
that has
show
a light
larger UAPs emitting lights. And then reports describe that UAPs traveled close to the ocean surface in Greece, taking 90-degree turns at 80 miles per hour, something human technology is not capable of yet. But the documents date all the way back to the 1940s, showing newspaper clippings of UFO sightings and letters to the FBI director at the time, J. Edgar Hoover. And in a 1966 letter, a Virginia police chief of over 20 years asked Hoover to take action, saying that he personally saw flying saucer-like UFOs. And on the first crewed mission to the moon, astronaut Buzz Aldrin described seeing a fairly bright light source aboard the Apollo 11 and little flashes inside the cabin there. NASA images from Apollo 12 and 17 missions show unidentified phenomena emitting light seen above the horizon of the moon. And we did speak with a researcher who says that there is likely more we don't know.
There's
likely more. Former congressional testimony, we know that we're in possession of recovered craft. And I know this also from people who have been in those programs and I trust and have talked to. Is he going to admit to that? I'm not so sure. But the fact that the data is coming out, I think, is really important.
That researcher saying that President Trump will likely be facing more questions about some of what these files have released. And there is more coming out next week. 46 more declassified UAP videos that the House Oversight Committee requested.
46 more.
Those are coming out next week, and they are...
Don't think about how the Strait of Hormuz is closed and there's oil prices skyrocketing and we're in the middle of a war that apparently we can't get out of.
Likely to be
Look at the UFOs.
Most revealing so far.
You know it's bad when they're trying to make people think about UFOs instead.
far, Alex.
I know that there are so many people that just can't wait for that to happen. Mills Hayes, thank you very much for the latest reporting there.
We're bringing in News Nation special correspondent.
Okay, we're going to go to a different one. This is enough. So this is all over the news. There's all kinds of different news reports. Like, look,
this morning, a trove of images showing decades of unidentified objects is sparking curiosity among starry-eyed enthusiasts.
They're also
the Pentagon releasing photos, videos,
again,
and reports of some 400
unresolved
UFO sightings from the past 80
years,
including this infrared video from 2013 taken somewhere in the Middle East by the U.S. military. It appears to show a star-shaped object flying erratically.
The other interesting thing is that the black is cold.
And in this
so does that
audio
mean
from
that the light coming off of it is cold light? Maybe that's weird. I don't know. I don't know enough about these cameras to know.
65 astronaut Frank.
They're just playing the same thing as the other one was. So here's one from a little while ago. Let's not forget about this. It came out a couple of months ago where it shows one of these orbs getting shot by a military rocket. So they're actually trying to shoot these things down I think this was in the Middle East also. So check this out. They have it locked. They're able to lock onto it apparently, or that's what it looks like. Look. Missile hits it. Here's the weird thing. That debris that comes off of it gets like locked in with it. It's like as if it's in a force field and it's just continuing to fly with the orb or whatever the heck that thing is. It's the official name for UFOs. There's no telling. Like China could have, like, there's a lot of people say that we're in a race for technology. This is like the Cold War or like the race for nuclear technology, but it's the race for this like next level UFO plasma technology. And if we're shooting them down, then I think we'd be pretty stupid to shoot it down if it was some like super powerful alien race. What if it's just China or Russia has figured out the technology? It's still super secret. There's this hidden race to get it going, and now we're in this like secret like UFO battle, but it's all humans. It's a possibility. Yes. Yeah. Why was it? So this is what the government does. It just releases a little bit and then it lets you decide and make up stories about what it's about. And they don't tell you, like they know why they were shooting a missile at it. There must have been a reason to shoot a missile at it. Maybe it could have been they thought it was a Chinese thing or they were just curious. Maybe can we hit it with a missile? Who knows? But they know the answer to it, but they're not telling anybody what it is. Okay, enough staring at the camera. Thank you. Let's continue. So actually, this is a good time to jump into it. There was a breaking news story today, and I want to get to it, where what's his name? Let me find it. The guy who ran ATIP, Lou Elizondo, he was on the Jillian Michaels show, and they're talking about some crazy ass shit. And when they start, like years ago, Lou Elizondo started talking about the undercover black ops and the recovered craft and the orbs. And he was the whistleblower after he stepped down from the head of ATIP, which is a UAP investigation department in the government. He has like top secret clearances. When he stepped down, he blew the whistle on this stuff to come out and get Congress to start looking into it. Like, where's all the money going? And he says there's like trillions of dollars being poured into these secret programs that the US taxpayers and Congress doesn't even know about. And a lot of presidents probably don't know about it or how much money is going into it. They're not on a need to know. So now you've got this secret organization within the government who has way more information and control than the people who are supposedly running the government. So anyway, he's the one who blew the whistle years ago. What has it been, 3 or 4 years since that happened, and Congress has started meeting on the UAPs, and the term UAPs became popular, and they changed it from UFOs. Well, now he's starting to talk about other things that are a lot crazier, that have been in the UFO community for a while now. And so you got to start thinking, if they're starting to think about this stuff now, then are they starting to ease into this? Is this going to become more and more of a topic? Wait till you see this. This is crazy. Into alien hybrid breeding? I'm going to tell you something. If you disclose that there's an alien hybrid breeding program and they're abducting people for it, yes, it's going to set the country on fire. People are going to freak the out. By the way, watch her during this video. I love how dramatic she is. Like, she's super dramatic. I mean, rightly so if we're talking about alien hybrid breeding programs, but it is funny.
Audio.
Is it too loud, too low?
Low.
Can't too low. I don't know how to pump this up. Let's figure it out. I mean, I have it up all the way. Is there some audio in here?
Can't hear it.
At all?
No.
Try it again. Still, you can't hear it?
No.
0? It's like it's muted?
Yeah.
That's really weird. The other videos were working, right?
Yeah.
And then this video is not working. That's strange. Okay. I'm gonna reload it and let's see.
All right.
Let's see what happens. I'm gonna load it in a different tab and switch over to it. Yeah.
No.
Oh, that really sucks, because this is the kicker right here. That is very strange that they're not allowed. What settings do I have? I don't have any other audio settings for levels. Oh, maybe here. Audio. Yeah, no, I don't have anything. That sucks. We're going to have to skip this one. Because it's just not, that is kind of weird that this is the one that, that they're not showing. They're not allowing the audio. Well, I'm saying it like it's like I'm a conspiracy theorist. They're not allowing the audio on this one. It is kind of strange. So anyway, I'll just tell you what this is. So in the video, Jillian Michaels is asking about these rumors of a hybrid breeding program with the aliens, and where they're abducting caravans full of immigrants and forcing them into the hybrid breeding program, being completely serious about it. Lou Elizondo, this is the guy, he's the whistleblower. He worked in the government, top secret clearances and everything, goes in front of Congress all the time about this stuff. He's saying that he doesn't know firsthand about this information. They have to be very careful about how they talk about it. He doesn't know firsthand about it, but he knows people in the military and in the government who would be in positions that know about this stuff, who say it's absolutely true. And then he even brings up that if it were that in the 50s, it would have started in the 50s. He says, if this is true, it would have started in the 50s, and he alludes that the government made an agreement with he says the friends from out there or something like that, that they made an agreement, the government made an agreement with the aliens to exchange technology for the right to abduct people and take their genetics to make hybrid aliens. Crazy stuff, like absolutely crazy. The crazier thing is that this is being talked about super seriously on a kind of mainstream channel. This isn't some UFO crazy nut channel or YouTuber. This is some mainstream stuff right here. So when they start talking about hybrid alien programs, that's like, we may start hearing about this more and more. It's likely that usually they put it out there a little bit, and then you hear more and more about it. It's how they get people used to the idea. If there's even a small chance that this is true, it is nuts. Like, the Epstein files are nothing compared to what this would be. Absolutely insane. So anyway, that stinks that this won't play. I'm going to have to go to the next video, try to figure this out. All right, there was another one from today. Oh, you know what? This one's pretty crazy, actually. So Jesse Michaels had a neurosurgeon on who runs 3 hospitals. Here, I'll go to it really quick and then we'll pause it. Let's see. Hopefully this works. Any audio on this?
Play it. No.
No audio on it.
Something happened.
Something happened. I think it has all of my streaming audio been cut for some reason. All right, I'm gonna maybe this is good. Maybe I'm going to stop it and then I'll restart. Let's stop sharing and let's go back. Maybe this is gonna fix it, and then we could play that other video. All right, back. Oh, I'll just keep myself over here. Okay, let's see.
Significant witness.
Yes.
All right, this is good news. Okay, we're going to jump right back over to this so you can hear this because this is nuts. Yeah?
Huh? What?
Audio good?
Are you playing something?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, it helps when I switch tabs over. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
good.
Where do we start? Should we start with an alien hybrid breeding program where they're capturing?
Watch how serious and dramatic she is. I mean, it is a dramatic subject if any part of this is true, but it is really funny to watch how dramatic she is.
Caravans of immigrants and forcing them into this, or should we start with the fact that a congressman who is well respected thinks that if this is fully disclosed, it's going to set the country on fire?
I guarantee you, if any part of this is true, it will definitely set the country on fire. If there is a alien breeding program and they're abducting immigrants or anybody and putting them in to make alien hybrid humans. Yeah.
Hand this one over to you here. I'm speechless.
Sure. Well, first of all, I've had the privilege of speaking to Representative Tim Burchett and his colleagues, and what he's saying regarding access to very sensitive information, he's absolutely correct. Some of the people that briefed those individuals, I personally know. They were colleagues of mine back in the day. He's absolutely correct that some of the population, I think, would probably be potentially concerned about how much we know about this topic, and for several reasons. We can go into that. Now, as far as this notion of alien crossbreeding and hybridization, let me just preface this. When I was in the Pentagon at ATIP, I was a nuts and bolts kind of guy, so really airframe, air integrity, the material science and propulsion behind the vehicles themselves, not so much the occupants. But what Gates is referring to is something called, in the vernacular, it's known throughout kind of the UFO community as MyLabs. And what it suggests is that there's been a long-standing agreement or understanding between us and our friends from out of town that have allowed us to work with whatever these are, in a cooperative agreement, and in exchange for that, supposedly they would have access to certain human specimens biologically in order to test.
Saying that supposedly we have an agreement to trade technology for the right to abduct people and steal their genetics or hybrid breed with humans.
I have to say, first and foremost, I heard about that while I was at the Pentagon. I was not privy to the specifics of that. From my understanding, that relationship began, if it is true, began sometime in the 1950s.
That's big what he just said, because look, he has to be very careful about how he says stuff. He's been doing this for years. He's very good at it. We're going to go back and listen to that again. He said, I heard about it at the Pentagon. He heard about it from people in the Pentagon about the program. And then he says it started, if it's true, it started back in the 50s, which perfectly lines up with there's this like alien lore that's been around for decades, that I think it was Eisenhower had a secret meeting with aliens and agreed to trade technology for the right to abduct American citizens. Now listen to what he says.
And it is of that. From my understanding, that relationship began, if it is true, began sometime in the 1950s. And has continued. I have met several individuals, former intelligence officers for the Air Force and other services, who swear by it, who actually say they've had encounters.
Intelligence officers from the Air Force who swear by the alien hybrid breeding program and agreement to trade technology, alien technology, for the right to abduct American citizens. This is nuts. We've gone into like some alternate timeline where everything you thought was a conspiracy theory 5 or 10 years ago is turning out to be true.
With UAP, and have seen military personnel in and around the vehicles, and as if, very nonchalant, as if it was supposed to be. I have to be careful with going into any type of speculation about hybridization or any type of scientific study or research, because again, that was not my forte. But what I will say is I've had plenty of individuals tell me verbatim that the military is far more, the military industrial complex is far more involved in this topic than anyone really knows.
Notice he says the military industrial complex. So it's not just the military, it's the military industrial complex. So all of those military contractors like Lockheed and Boeing and BlackRock and who knows who is also involved in these. And that's been a thing for years, where they say, well, the government took that technology and moved it outside of the government into the private sector, into these companies, and has agreements with these companies to work on this top secret technology. And then the government could theoretically say, like, no, we're not doing anything. We don't have any programs like that. But they really do. They're just being outsourced to the military industrial complex. And that's where all of this black money is funneling, the supposedly trillions of dollars that's being funneled into programs like this out of the American taxpayers.
There are cases which seem rather interesting, where you have, in some cases, UAP potentially being escorted by American fighter jets and allied fighter jets. So that would give you some sense of cooperation, maybe between us and whatever they are.
I think they need to be.
I can't tell you for certain, because simply I wasn't privy to that, if that indeed existed. But I will also say it's really not that far of a stretch if we were to come into contact with, let's say, just another nation, right? So let's look at it this way from a real perspective. There are tribes right now that are isolated in the Amazon and also in the South Pacific, and we have these no-go zones. Basically, we're not going to interfere with these indigenous people and their development, because they've never had outside exposure. They haven't been exposed to recent diseases and things like that, and it could cause a significant problem for them. But once one culture decides to engage another culture here on Earth, right? Forget about out there, just right here. You have an exchange of ideas. You have agreements between the different peoples. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can go back and look at the conquistadors during their La Reconquista, or the reconquering, where their interaction with indigenous people didn't go so well, right? Same here in the United States, where we maybe did some things that we probably shouldn't have towards indigenous people. In other cases, it was a little bit.
That's kind of weird what he's trying to say there. I don't know. Is he saying that, we had the aliens made agreements with us, and then they kind of overstepped them and did messed up stuff to humans? Because that's kind of what it's sounding like he's alluding to in this little story about the tribes. Otherwise, there's no reason to say it, right?
More symbiotic. So let's get back to the question you're having, specifically about hybrids and alien hybrids. I don't know. I do know that there are people out there that swear by it. There are people that have been in the military and intelligence officials that have told me it, that have no reason to question their credibility. They've never lied to me, certainly. But I don't have firsthand knowledge of that, of hybridization or forced hybridization. And if that is the case, then I think Representative Burchett is absolutely correct, because if it's true that there's a scenario where we have elements of the American government wittingly cooperating with something else and allowing human beings to be against their own will, right, be taken. Well, from my perspective, when I was a special agent, that's called kidnapping, right? That's a felony offense. And then if they are touched in any way, right, that's called assault, right? So there's a lot of issues here that legally, fundamentally.
I mean, technically, the aliens would be sexually assaulting humans or American citizens. So, which is worse? I don't know. We've got the Epstein files, and now we have alien sexual assaults. It's getting interesting.
I think we would have a problem with. Then you have the other information that I know Representative Burchett has had access to, along with some of his other colleagues like Luna and Burleson. That could be very disturbing, because it shows that maybe we have been a little bit more complicit with this topic than we have previously stated. Keep in mind, we spent decades saying nothing to see here, folks. It's not real. This is not, this is silly. Turns out we were spending a lot of taxpayer money, a lot of your money, actually, researching this topic. And I was part of that effort. And so were many of my colleagues. And it turns out that, there are things that go bump in the night. And that can be very disturbing for some people, especially from a philosophical perspective or a theological perspective, and even a psychological perspective.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay.
I love how he phrases that. It turns out there are things that go bump in the night.
So two things jump out at me right away that make me struggle with this.
Just two?
Number one, genetically, how in the world could you possibly sync up humanity and whatever this non-intelligence may be. It'd be
So let's jump to the crazy conspiracy theories that have been out for forever that maybe they're not aliens. Maybe they're some sort of mutated humans from the future or from who knows what's going on now, parallel timeline, with Earth, that like there's theories out there that they're parallel timeline humans that destroyed their world and had to live underground and mess with their genetics. And now they can't breed naturally anymore. And to save their race, they have to interhybridize with other humans. So they found other time, like there's crazy stuff out there and people sound absolutely cuckoo. But the direction that we're going with all this stuff, I wouldn't really be surprised if it turns out to be true.
like crossbreeding us with a dog, I imagine. And a dog has evolved on Earth. It doesn't make sense, Lou. How would that even be possible?
No, that's a great question. In fact, we've already done it before with other things. We've actually crossbred rats and their DNA with jellyfish, and now these rats glow. There's bioluminescence. Imagine that, a glowing rat, right, or a glowing sheep. So we've already done that, actually. From a scientific perspective, it's not that hard. And frankly, when you look at the genetics, I think we share something like 90% of our DNA with a banana, right? So it's not really that far off. We are already crossbreeding to bring animals back from extinction, like the dire wolf, right? So we are well beyond that. Can we take DNA from something else and mix it with human DNA? Yes, it can be done. We've already done it with animals, and that's common knowledge. Anybody can get on a search engine and type in, glow in the dark rats or glow in the dark sheep, and you will see where we have crossbred jellyfish DNA with mammalian DNA.
Humans are great. They're like, we have the power to breed different animals and take trade. What are we going to do? We're going to make them glow in the dark. That's cool.
And I suspect in China they've gone much further than that. There are ethical issues with it, but I suspect in China they've gone DNA with mammalian DNA. And I suspect in China they've gone much further than that.
I'd love to hear what China's doing, because he seems to think, and now if he seems to think there's probably a reason for it, who knows? Maybe China's like really interbreeding, like, making like pig humans and stuff with like pig heads and running around.
There are ethical issues with it, but I think scientifically, when you're saying how do we crossbreed, it can be done. And I'll also suggest something else very interesting you said, because Jillian, I think it's a really important question you're asking here. How can you take DNA that is terrestrial here from Earth, and fine, you can argue the fact that maybe jellyfish are from Earth, and so therefore there's some similarity with something completely not human. But we don't know that. It is possible that there is some sort of linkage there, maybe either in our distant history, in our past, where these things are not so dissimilar. Look, they've been reported for having bilateral symmetry, having two arms, two legs, very similar to humanoid type morphology. That suggests a lot of things. Either A, the human form is very, very common in the cosmos, or B, that there's a common link somewhere.
There you go. Who knows? They say they're living under the oceans now. Maybe they've been there for thousands of years and they're just mutated humans from before the last catastrophe, 10,000 years ago.
Between human beings and potentially higher primates and whoever these are. And if you go down that logic trail, then you have to ask a question that maybe our friends from out of town aren't really from outer space at all. Maybe they're from right here. Maybe they are from under our ocean, whoever these are. Human beings, or B, that there's a common link somewhere between human beings and potentially higher primates and whoever these are. And if you go down that logic trail, then you have to ask a question that maybe our friends from out of town aren't really from outer space at all. Maybe they're from right here. Maybe they are from under our oceans. Maybe these things are just as natural to Earth as we are, but we're now at the point technologically where we can actually begin to interact with them. So that's another potential.
All right, guys, if you like this.
There you go. That is some crazy stuff. For that to be coming out, it's unbelievable. Like, if there's any chance that any part of that is true, then this, I don't know. I don't know what would be crazier than that, honestly. And they're seriously talking about it on a mainstream media outlet, as that's pretty freaking mainstream, right? So anyway, well, it looks like they've got a much longer conversation. So I want to end with there's one more that I want to get into, and this one's really crazy. The media loves to scare people about aliens. So in the way that they do stuff, like, here's some information, figure it out, like, and then people jump to conclusions about this and that, and then they talk about hybrid breeding programs and all these things. But when it comes down to it, if you look at MUFON reports, that's the Mutual UFO Network that takes reports of alien encounters from people. They've got thousands, tens of thousands of these reports. 75 to 90% of them say people say were positive experiences, and a lot of those say that they were spiritual in nature and life-changing, and they would choose to do it again, or they wouldn't choose to have not had that experience, if that makes sense. So then you guys start to think, well, are they saying this for a reason? Maybe the power structures want us to be scared of these things. I mean, if there's aliens around here, and they have been for a very long time, they haven't taken over Earth. Why? They can't be that bad if they haven't enslaved the human race yet, and they would have done that before we got nuclear weapons, you know what I mean? So just by their actions, you would think, hybrid breeding aside, it doesn't seem like they're doing anything bad besides flying around, people seeing them, making crop circles, things like that, right? And so when you dig into it, there's a lot of reports of actually positive experiences that go along with this. And there's a ton of them. We'll get into those at another time. But there is one really interesting, very credible report out of Brazil. And this was on the Jesse Michaels show. And this guy is and we won't watch all of it, but I want you to hear his experience. This guy is a neurosurgeon, and he runs 3 different hospitals inside of Brazil. He is the head of neurosurgery, and he's a very distinguished person, very credible source. In the Virginia UFO incident, apparently there was a downcraft, aliens escaped, and a couple of them were running around. The military captures one, a guy physically tackles one, drags it into a military jeep. They bring it to, I guess it was injured, so they bring it to the hospital, clear out the hospital. A surgeon actually works on the alien, and then this head surgeon shows up later and goes and meets the alien, and he seems totally legit about it. And his experience is not what you would expect. It wasn't some creepy experience. He is
ET beings from what seemed to be another world.
Let's see, I'm going
in the entire world.
Talking about it.
And the reason I say that is because of your background, your pedigree. You're a neurosurgeon. People depend on you to operate on their brains. You manage a chain of 3 hospitals who cannot operate without you. And because you spent 4 to 5 minutes, in your own estimation, face to face with one of these entities. And so it is an absolute honor to be with you today. And I can't thank James Fox enough for getting you, Dr. Armando Carlos de Souza, all to the U.S. This is a dream come true for me. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
I want to get into the core details. So what happened January 1996?
Tape, I wouldn't need to be on duty until today. I wouldn't need to be working as much as I do. And on about the tape. And then I said, I don't have the tape.
Okay, hold on.
And we approach it as doctors. If there's bleeding, pain, agitation,
he was brought into the room.
if breathing is normal,
Saying that
if there's need for emergency care.
It's a bad thing.
So I said, okay. Once again, what do you think? I looked again. It's not bleeding. It's not in pain. It's breathing normally. No problem. Everything's fine. The being looked at me. As I always say, it looked at me with a very beautiful look. Not a judgmental look, not a look of fear. It had the look of someone who understands very well what is going on. But it was a different person, a different being. It wasn't human at all. It wasn't a case of human anomalies. It was a different being. I've been dealing with humans for 46 years, but back then, about 30 years ago, we knew how to tell when it was or wasn't a human. It looked at me with a very beautiful gaze that left a lasting impression. I usually say that from then on, it feels like you turn into a different person. And at a certain moment, having a conversation with James and the boys, they asked me what I thought. I said it was a very beautiful look. It moved me. I said, it looked like an angel looking at us. Very much so. That kind of look. Very understanding. Very calm. Very tranquil. Like it's saying, I've known you for a long time, don't worry. I know you took care of me, but everything's fine. I'm back to normal. This colleague had the video. He showed it to several people. Many people watched this video at his house, on his computer. And then James and the others were there, looking for the tape. Where's the tape? Where's the tape? I mean, if you saw the tape, it's wonderful. It's short, but it's a different kind of being. It's a being that changes the history of humanity, because it's the first time we're seeing a different kind of being there, live. But I don't have that tape. I told James that if I had that tape, I wouldn't need to be on duty until today. I wouldn't need to be working as much as I do. And on about the tape. And then I said, I don't have the tape. He's already dead, but I saw it. As soon as I said that I'd seen it, James...
So there's a whole documentary that James did about this. It's a really great, I think it's called Day of Encounter or something like that. And he dives in, he has all these eyewitnesses from around the town. This is a little tiny town in Brazil where people know each other. It's a really wild story, and it seems to be one of the most credible stories that I've heard. There's a lot of credible witnesses, and one of the weird things is that the military down in Brazil says that USAF flew in and without permission. They didn't have permission to land at the airfield, and collected the ship and the aliens and flew off. And USAF is the United States Air Force, and that they just came in and took it. So the United States took the remains, and they actually tracked back the flights on that day, and there was a flight that came from the United States down to Brazil and back, which is kind of crazy. These researchers dive in like crazy. And the weird thing is they put out a Freedom of Information Act request for any information about this flight that went down there. And they put it out to the Air Force. Well, months later, they get a response back from, I believe it was the CIA, that responded and said that that there's no information, like they can't release any information about that flight. It's protected. The crazy thing about that is the request was made to the Air Force. The Air Force got the request and said, oh, this is out of our jurisdiction. They handed it over to the CIA, and then the CIA responded. So the CIA was obviously connected or in control of this operation. and it wasn't actually the Air Force itself, which is in itself proof that something went down in that flight that is top secret that they can't release. It's still classified. So just that handoff from the Air Force to the CIA, if it was the Air Force, they would have said, no, we can't do it. But then it was handed to the CIA. So that's crazy. That's a weird one. Jesse Michaels does a lot of really cool videos on the subject. I'm going to play one more, and then we'll end on this one. But this is, let me find it. So this is really cool. There's a startup that has a government contract, and they're contracted to build technology that can see UFOs. And they claim to have documented like 9 different types of UFOs that are completely different from each other. And they go tracking them, and they have contracts with the Air Force to do this, to track it and report back. Something weird about it is they use psionics to call the UFOs in, which psionics are I guess the power of the brain, and they use a person who's good at psionics to send out the like whatever vibrations in a meditative state that would then call them in, and that's the best way that they found to make them appear. Really crazy stuff. We'll watch the beginning of this, and it's like, it's mind-blowing that this is legit. So, you would think that you watch these videos of the government showing orbs and these pixelated videos, and they're like, well, I don't know, we gotta, we'll show you the videos and let you decide what it is. Nobody's covering this, and this is like, it's public to go and meet these people in these companies that are working on these projects, and it's not like top secret information that they're doing this, and they show videos of them, and there's crazy shit, but the news isn't covering it. It's they won't touch it. There's a lot of really credible, good information about the subject and about the phenomenon, we would call it, that it's just not being covered for a reason. They want to give you little bits of this little BS stuff that's been around for forever. Oh, here's a video of a pixelated Tic Tac, and wow, I wonder what it could be, when there's projects like this going on that are completely credible. So check this out.
It truly is a technology company that was started because of UAP. After we turn on the dog whistle, UAPs literally come to us day after day.
That's the other thing. I forgot about this. They have something they call the dog whistle, and it sends out certain types of signals and certain frequencies that make them come back. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen stuff on this. If that's also involving the psionics guy who does meditations to get them in, or if they've actually I think they're using a computer and some sort of a broadcasting to do it. Anyway.
Jordan, our psionic lead, came up to me and Alex like, hey, tomorrow we're going to see, a conflict in the sky. We're going to have different UAPs are going to come in, and there's going to be...
He sensed that.
He said that.
Whoa.
We're seeing multiple classes, 3 classes today. We saw them all with binoculars and or the naked eye, which is really new for us. We've not had that experience in the last 5 years.
These days, since our technology platforms are so high to generate effects they could mimic, and our detection platforms are so well advanced so we could see a lot more, then it really is a zoo of options and possibilities.
We have 3.
Look, so here are the classes of different UFOs that they've identified. The Tetra Class 1, which is some sort of a polygon. Then you've got the Tic Tacs, which are the long ones. You've got blobs, which is this like amorphous thing inside of a bubble. And then the beam, I forget what that is. Manta ray, that's the one that looks like the flying manta ray wings. Bright star, that's another one that I believe is inside some sort of a like force field. Then the jellyfish, which that has been popping up more and more. There are some videos of the jellyfish style UFOs that are that were out in that latest release that they just made a few days or a week ago. Hornets, that looks like that's like Star Wars, Star Trek kind of style, where it has what looks like a little booster hanging off the bottom or something weird. And then you've got the eggs, like in that movie where that big ass egg came down and just hovered there, and they tried to figure it out, and it took forever, and then it was some time language or something. Anyway, eggs like that. Let's get to it.
Spectrums, and we see them on radar. Then we get in a helicopter and go chase them, and they evade us, right? But they evade us because the ground can see them evading. From the air, we've never laid eyes on them, right? We're sitting there with binoculars, sitting there with S-Wear cameras. The reason why the electro-optical can see them cannot is because that little bit of extra is where they're actually emitting light. I think the government's conflicted right now. I think they have advanced secret physics and knowledge and science.
I agree with you.
That they've had probably since at least the end of World War II.
You know that there's physics knowledge held by aerospace companies that is not
There
known.
certainly is materials knowledge.
Materials, well, okay, materials
Which
science.
involves topological physics or whatever.
What I think a lot of people expect in this subject is for everything to tie together so neatly and perfectly. You know, it's like the things you're seeing in the sky are the things that we have on the ground, are the secret science things, is the consciousness stuff, and it all fits together in this neat thing. And then also space aliens, and they're from Zeta Reticuli, and you're like, oh, it's easy. And in fact, all of those things could be their own disparate threads.
The skies are not classified, and we are seeing things in the skies. Those things seem to be there all the time. Mid-turn, before he could actually turn it to the UAP, the UAP hit us with an energy weapon.
Whoa.
That's right. It like turned off all their equipment too when it hit. It's been a while since I watched this. So anyway, I'm not going to get into this whole video right now, but there's obviously much more interesting information about companies that are doing this. I highly suggest you go and watch this video. Jesse Michaels is great. But there's companies that are doing much more interesting things. And as a reporter, if I was a reporter and covering this subject, I would be looking at things like this. Wow, there's a startup that has US government contracts with the military, and they're videotaping. They've classified 9 different types of UAPs. That's some crazy stuff right there. That's a lot better information than, well, the astronauts say that they saw debris floating outside the window or some flashing lights that look like stars. You know, it's just a whole different class of interesting, and it goes way deeper than that. Anyway, that's it for tonight. I'm going to sign off here. Have a good night.